The house, the tree, and the monkey cage. But that's enough of that. We can't go on forever watching these two disgusting people doing disgusting things to each other. We must get ahead with the story. Here is a picture of Mr. and Mrs. Twit's house and garden. Some house. It looks like a prison, and not a window anywhere. Who wants windows, Mr. Twit had said when they were building it. Who wants every Tom, Dick and Harry peeping in, seeing what you're doing? It didn't occur to Mr. Twit that windows were meant mainly for looking out of and not looking into. And what do you think of that garden? Mrs. Twit was the gardener. She was very good at growing thistles and stinging nettles. I always grow plenty of spiky thistles and plenty of stinging nettles, she used to say. They keep out nasty, nosy little children. Near to the house you can see Mr. Twit's work shed. To one side there's the big dead tree. It never has any leaves on it because it's dead. And not far away from the tree you can see the monkey cage. There are 4 monkeys in it. They belong to Mr. Twit. You'll hear about them later. Hug tight sticky glue. Once a week on Wednesdays the Twits have bird pie for supper. Mr. Twit caught the birds and Mrs. Twit cooked them. Mr. Twit was good at catching birds. On the day before Bird Pie Day, he would put the ladder up against the big dead tree and climb up into the branches with a bucket of glue and a paintbrush. The glue he used was something called Hug Tight. It was stickier than any other glue in the world. He would paint it along the tops of all the branches and then go away. As the sun went down, birds would fly in from all around to roost for the night in the big dead tree. They didn't know, poor things, that the branches were all smeared with the horrible Hug-Tight. The moment they landed on the branch, their feet stuck, and that was it. The next morning, which was Bird Pie Day, Mr. Twit would climb up the ladder again and grab all of the wretched birds that were stuck to the tree. Didn't matter what kind they were. Song thrushes, blackbirds, sparrows, crows, little Jenny wrens, robins, anything. They all went into the pot for Wednesday's bird pie supper. 4 sticky little boys. On one Tuesday evening after Mr. Twit had been up the ladder and smeared the tree with Hug-Tight, 4 little boys crept into the garden to look at the monkeys. They didn't care about the thistles and the stinging nettles, not when there were monkeys to look at. After a while, they got tired of looking at the monkeys, so they explored further into the garden and found the ladder leaning up against the big dead tree. They decided to climb up it, just for fun. There's nothing wrong with that. The next morning, when Mr. Twit went out to collect the birds, he found 4 miserable little boys sitting in the tree, stuck as tight as they could be by the seats of their pants to the branches. There were no birds because the presence of the boys had scared them away. Mr. Twit was furious. As there are no birds for my pie tonight, he shouted, it'll have to be boys instead. He started to climb the ladder. Boy pie might be better than bird pie, he went on, grinning horribly. More meat and not so many tiny little bones. The boys were terrified. He's going to boil us, cried one of them. He'll stew us alive, wailed the second one. He'll cook us with the carrots, cried the third. But the 4th boy, who had more sense than the others, whispered, listen, I've just had an idea. We're only stuck by the seat of our pants. So quick, unbutton your pants and slip out of them and fall to the ground. Mr. Twit had reached the top of the ladder and was just about to make a grab for the nearest boy when they all suddenly tumbled out of the tree and ran home with their naked bottoms winkling in the sun.